You have been watching officials give an update on the Michigan synagogue attack this afternoon. The FBI is assisting in the investigation as a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community. Officials say a suspect drove a truck into the building, injuring the head of security there. Others were hospitalized for smoke inhalation after the vehicle caught on fire. Two law enforcement sources tell CBS News the suspect's body is badly burned, which has been complicating identification. There were mortar-type explosives in the vehicle, but sources say the suspect is from Dearborn, Michigan, and that suspect is dead. Officials have not yet given a name. The local sheriff attributed the training that public safety officers undergo for active shooter and mass casualty events to the fact that no children or staff were hurt since there was a school at this large complex and that the threat was quickly neutralized. Alysia Burgio from CBS News Detroit joins us now from the scene. Alysia, what is the latest?
Lindsay, an emotional and chaotic day here in West Bloomfield. A lot of families and community members on edge, filled with terror and unsure of what was going on. We witnessed many reuniting with their kids, with their families today, hugging and just visibly shaken up and relieved that they were able to come together. Now, you can see, I'm going to step aside, that the scene here is still active outside Temple, Israel, with police blocking the road. We did just receive an update from law enforcement, as you just heard. Here's what we know at this point. Oakland County Sheriff Mike Bouchard says a man, he approached the Temple with a rifle in his car, rammed his vehicle through the front doors down the hallway. Security saw him coming. That's when that security guard shot at him. At some point, that shooter's vehicle caught fire and he was killed. Police say because the plumes of smoke were just so intense, it's unclear if the shooter died from a gunshot wound or that vehicle fire. Now, at this point, there's no active threat to the community, and police are working to figure out that suspect's motive. Meantime, police are increasing patrols at places of worship here in West Bloomfield and surrounding communities. But the most important takeaway that I want to point out here is that no kids, no staff were hurt during this entire situation. And as far as other injuries, that one security guard that stepped in to take care of this active threat, he was hurt but is expected to recover and be okay. Of course, this is an ongoing investigation, but we'll keep you updated as this situation develops. Reporting live in West Bloomfield, Alysia Burgio, CBS News.
Alysia Burgio, thank you so much. Let's now go to CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd. Sam is also a former assistant secretary for counterterrorism at the Homeland Security Department. We heard there the sheriff saying it was just 2 days ago that he had been texting with security from the Temple. What a world. I mean, the preparation, thank goodness, but what a world in that we have to live in which they have to be prepared for something like this.
And Lindsay, in my experience, unfortunately, sheriffs and other law enforcement officials around the country are in almost daily touch in some jurisdictions with members of the Jewish community and other religious communities. And that's because the threat environment has just been exploding over the past few years. And also because the time that it takes an individual to start having thoughts about conducting violence and then to actually mobilize to violence has really shortened significantly.
Oh, wow.
That's because of the spread of content on social media. That's because of really easy access to firearms. So whereas it might have been months or years previously, individuals can actually mobilize to violence very quickly. And that's why in listening to this press conference, what's really struck out to me was Sheriff Blanchard, who is a decorated law enforcement official, focusing both on the role of partnerships between federal, state, local, tribal, territorial, nonprofit, and private sector partners, but also on the role of the public. Because that mobilization timeline is just so much shorter now, the law enforcement community can't prevent these things from happening alone. What he's saying is that individuals need to ask for help at the earliest possible point when they see an individual who may be going down a pathway to violence. Without that, Lindsay, this is a losing battle.
So, Sam, we have right now at face value someone who officials say drove a truck into a synagogue, was able to make it down a hallway, had a rifle, had mortar explosives in the truck, clearly was thinking and planning on doing a great deal of damage. But we do know that that truck and the body of that suspect are badly burned. So where do investigators go from here now to find out more about a motive?
There are multiple lines of effort underway to ascertain motive, as well as the pattern of behavior that led up to this attack. And that pattern of behavior is important so that law enforcement can learn lessons about this, how this occurred, and prevent other similar scenarios. Right now, what is being conducted is tracing that license plate, understanding who owned the vehicle, and then from there, using dental records that could take some time to try to positively identify the subject. Once they positively identify the subject, they will be getting warrants to comb the individual's social media, mobile devices, residence, any other vehicle the individual may have had, and then trying to ascertain how this individual got access, allegedly, to explosives and a firearm. But the first thing, of course, is a positive identification through forensics and other investigatory tactics, while also, importantly, the FBI has set up a tip line for this incident. And the reason for that is to ask for the public's help to see if anyone in their orbit made any comments, purchased any of these kinds of assets, weapons or explosives, as we get more details on that. Members of the public, of the community that may have known the subject could come forward and say that they might have a tip that would be relevant here. So there's various lines of effort underway to make that positive identification. And Lindsay, it's important for this incident, but it's also important to see if this individual was in contact with anybody else to make sure there's no other ongoing threats to the public.
All right, Sam Vinograd, thank you so much. Let's bring in CBS News law enforcement contributor and former Suffolk County, New York Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison. Rodney, does the method of attack using a truck speak to mindset or level of planning?
Yeah, so anytime you have a attack on a religious institution, you're automatically going to assume there's some type of anti-religious belief attack on that community, and it kind of helps get a better understanding of what the motivation was involved. I'm going to kind of reiterate what was already shared. You have to try to get a better understanding of the person that was involved, identify who he or she is, and then get down to the motive. And was this person a lone wolf, or was the individual radicalized and working with a group of other individuals? So the one thing that I do like what I see right now is there seems to be a team of law enforcement officials involved. You have everybody from the Oakland County's Sheriff's Department. I know the Detroit Police Department is probably involved, Michigan State Police, and a host of other law enforcement agencies are probably working together to make sure they get down to the bottom of this, as well as get a better understanding if there are other concerns that may be happening in Michigan. This incident reminds me of 2018 when I was the chief of patrol in the NYPD, and the attack that happened in Pittsburgh at that temple. And we had to make sure we did everything in our power to protect the Jewish community, knowing that an incident like this that happened in Pittsburgh could possibly touch other parts in the city that we were covering at the time frame. So a lot of work needs to be done out there in Michigan, but also in other places around the country to make sure there's not copycat incidents occurring.
All right, Rodney Harrison, thank you.